Hello everyone, it's Sandra here and I am with Peekaboo, and let's just see how Peekaboo is doing. There's the burlap blanket that had the unfortunate dead worm on it the one time. Not expecting to see a repeat performance of that, but we just get this burlap off, move it next door where any wisps or worms on it are safe, and we can take a look. All right, so Peekaboo has two things going on. It has some garden chard stems buried here, along with something that's, I think those are pepper sprouts because I noticed there were pepper seeds. And it's got the most current feeding that was raw food buried on this end, but look at all the seed sprouts that I've got happening. That's interesting. Can also see cocoon there. So doing just a general scan of your bin when you open is always a great idea. There's another cocoon. This is an empty one, had a dimple in it. So doing a scan of your bin when you take off whatever covering is great. I also have an avocado that started to sprout, and I put it in the corner with the sprout end pointing up, just in case it wanted to take off. All right, so first things first, let's take a look at these chard stems. I like putting garden stems or used flower bouquet stems in bins because it creates air pockets. It is green in the sense that it's, not totally dried, these stems, but they're almost woody and they're going to take a long time. And in the meantime, they're going to provide good air pockets for the worms. And you can see right away when I start moving this material that the chard stems are still there and they're probably going to be intact. They'll be intact for a while. There were also some old orange peels in this corner. So you can see that these chard stems are still intact, but they're doing exactly what I wanted them to do, was basically to create an airflow in this bin. This bin, as I've mentioned many times, is bedding heavy, so getting airflow is really important. And so I'm just going to let this continue to do its thing. So I've just done a very quick check-in on that. There's no need for me to disturb it anymore. The worms are down there. I verified they're in the area. They're interested. The airflow is good. The moisture is good. I can feel on my hand. All right, so let's go into the old feeding zone. Now this end was not frozen. Like I just stopped being able to process and feed my food for a little while. And so I had to feed worm bins kind of in a rush and fed them raw food. I know there were banana peels in this feeding. I'm not quite sure what else went in raw, but let's take a look. It's been 8 days, and we'll see whether the worms are getting into this raw food. You can see the difference between raw and frozen banana peels. These banana peels look untouched. Look at that. They're still there, with the browns that I added, some leaves and whatnot. And there are definitely worms in this area, but the banana peels are still mostly intact. I think it's been 7 or 8 days. This material is not that wet, so I'm a little, I'm wondering whether that's what's caused the slowdown in decomposition of this food, is that it is not that damp. So what I'm going to do today is, other than just turn over this middle section just to make sure I get rid of any compression that's happening in the middle, is I am going to feed a little bit of faster food on top of this banana area. so that I attract the worms in greater number. Now, I'm not worried that these worms have a lack of food because I fed them slow foods, because, as I've mentioned before, this bedding is comprised of almost nearly completely finished composted wood chips, as well as cardboard. And so between the two, the worms have plenty of food to eat. All right, so let me just finish taking the compressed castings out of this middle section. There we go. Nice. There we go. And then I will feed in this area right here, next to and on top of these banana peels that are not breaking down very quickly. And there's our petrified avocado. All right, not breaking down quickly enough. So this food will be more moist, and so I imagine we'll get more action from it. There we go. I think that's enough food to get some activity in this area. And I'm just going to give a little bit of browns on top. I'm going to be using some of my aged shredded leaves. They're actually not that damp. I would say they are mildly damp, but they will help inoculate that area. And that's why I've decided to use them. Peekaboo is not as damp as I would have expected, but like I was saying to one of the comments, I'm not worried when a bin has so much bedding about the moisture so much, because it would take a lot to dry out this bin to the extent that the worms would not be comfortable. However, you do want it damp enough that the worms will be able to not only be encouraged to breed, but also the cocoons to mature. There's one of the worms right there, and another one climbing, a couple of them climbing the walls. There we go. All right, so that's my check-in on Peekaboo today, and I'll just replace the bubble wrap, and we'll come back and check on those charred stems and those raw banana peels in another week or two. Bye for now.